Hey there, guys. I'm Mark Lambert. Welcome to Catholic Unscripted. I just thought I'd share something with you. We've been doing a bit more stuff on our own to camera, and I wanted to share a lovely story of something that happened to me. It was a couple of weeks ago now. You might recall that I very fortunately have been invited into our local Baptist community, and where we studied the Bible together, and that's been very interesting and fruitful experience for me, and a source of great grace. I think both my Baptist friends and myself, we're not quite sure what is going on, but definitely the Holy Spirit is involved in it somewhere. So I'm trying to help them. Well, they certainly help me a great deal, give me the opportunity to study the Bible weekly with my son. We've now got a couple of other Catholics who come along. So it's about 50-50 in the group, which is really interesting in itself. I met the pastor of the Baptist church this week and had a really lovely and fruitful conversation. So they're extremely generous to, have an open door in that sort of regard. And I think it is doing great things. Anyway, we had a new lady join the group recently, lovely lady, and I was, really been thinking a lot about what she said on that evening and what she brought to the group, and saying a lot of prayers for her, because very quickly it was apparent, she explained quite early on, she shared quite an intimate detail that she was widowed just 12 months or so ago. Over the course of that session, we had a discussion, and the discussion was about trusting God in prayer. And she very emotionally told us a further revelation, which was the story that she'd lost a son when he was just 5 years old, and he died of leukemia. It was a very sad, story, and obviously it's just awful for anyone to go through that and to lose a child. And as you probably know, if you're a regular viewer of Catholic Unscripted, I lost my daughter Ruth when she was just 7 years old. So it's something that I've been through and identify with and still find very difficult today. So I knew what she was going through. She said, she was telling us that the whole community, her husband had brought her to the faith. He was really a devout Christian, and she was sort of part of that. And she's got a very deep but simple faith herself. She's lovely older lady. She was saying that when her son wasn't very well, that the whole of the church community had been praying really earnestly for his healing, and she was distressed even now that despite that he died. And she was saying, she was downplaying her own holiness and her own worthiness. She said she knew that she wasn't holy or worthy, and she didn't have a powerful faith. She didn't expect God to listen to her little prayer, which I thought was kind of ironic, because they're the kind of prayers that God does listen to the most, isn't it? But she said she wasn't surprised that God didn't answer her prayer, but she was surprised that all those committed, holy and devout people were praying really earnestly, and yet God didn't answer their prayers. And it was something that she expressed was quite a bitter thing for her. It was a bitter thing in her heart, and she'd never really gotten over it. And she'd held it in her for years and years. And it was really difficult to listen to for everyone, but it felt like it was something that we were very grateful to have been trusted with. And often people do share those sorts of things, intimate things like that, their own struggles. So it was very sort of difficult, you can imagine, for me. Like, everyone in the group knows me and knows that I've been sort of bereaved. And she was obviously filled with a lot of raw emotion, and as she was recounting this story and her feelings, and you can imagine the feeling, like everyone who know me, all their eyes turned to me in the room, like waiting for me to deliver this homily of wisdom about, you know, how you cope with losing a child, which is something that everyone dreads and is impossible really to deal with or explain. And I felt extremely exposed as everyone's eyes turned to me to give the right answer. And the trouble for me was that the day before, that Monday, had been Ruth's 23rd birthday. So we lost Ruth in this horrible accident in 2009. But despite that, the loss still is something that we feel every day. We talk about her every day and pray, ask her to pray for us. It feels extremely raw, and I can't really explain what that's like if you haven't experienced it. But it doesn't, you think, you know, lots of people have said to me over the years, haven't you got over that yet? You know, or something, words to that effect. And I really don't think you do ever get over it. You just learn to live with the pain. But that pain is inside you, and it's as raw, it's as ragged and pain sharp as it ever was. It's very easy to cut yourself on it if you allow yourself to be maudlin, sort of thing. Obviously, we've learnt to cope. You know, I've learnt to cope. You find, I think my wife and I have got different mechanisms for dealing with that loss. But it's always hard at times like Ruth's birthday or the anniversary of her death. They're times when you open the box of your grief, if you like, and you ponder over those things in a very raw sort of, you know, it's a bit more exposed, let's just say it like that. I knew everyone was expecting me to explain to this lovely lady how I'd coped and how Jesus had answered her prayer without her knowing, and how she'd misunderstood. But really, I was just feeling too raw to tell her any stories about Ruth, about my daughter. So instead, I felt it really wasn't me. You know, it sounds terribly trite, but I just was inspired suddenly to share, you know, that prayer of St. John Henry Cardinal Newman, which is called Some Definite Service. And that prayer goes like this: God knows and calls me by my name. God has created me to do him some definite service. He has committed some work to me, which he has not committed to another. I have my mission. I never may know it in this life, but I will be told it in the next. Somehow, I am necessary for his purposes. I have a part in his great work. I'm a link in a chain, a bond of connection between persons. He's not created me for naught. I shall do good. I shall do his work. I shall be an angel of peace, a preacher of truth. In my own place, while not intending it, if I do but keep his commandments and serve him in my calling. Therefore I will trust him. Wherever I am, I can never be thrown away. If I am in sickness, my sickness may serve him. In perplexity, my perplexity may serve him. If I am in sorrow, my sorrow may serve him. My sickness or perplexity or sorrow may be necessary causes of some great end which is quite beyond us. He does nothing in vain. He may prolong my life, he may shorten it. He knows what he is about. He may take away my friends, he may throw me among strangers, he may make me feel desolate, make my spirit sink, hide the future from me. Still, he knows what he is about. Let me be thy blind instrument. I ask not to see, I ask not to know, I simply ask to be used. And that's from Meditations and Devotions from 1848. I'm sure at some point I'll have the courage or the opportunity will arise. So we've had another Bible study class since then, and she came back. So that's the positive thing. We haven't scared her away. She obviously felt like she was among friends and at peace, or we spoke to her in some small way. So thanks be to God for that. And hopefully we'll become great friends, and at some point I'll share that story of my own bereavement. But I did feel I needed to offer something to our Bible study group after that, because you could see everyone was affected by it in a very profound way. So I wrote down a few of my thoughts, and I thought I'd share that with you guys as well. And it's really about what happens when our prayers aren't answered. How do we understand that when our prayers are ignored? And it's something, like prayers for the healing of a dying child. If they seem to go unanswered, it's a really profound and difficult challenging aspect of the faith. And these things have been contemplated by theologians and believers, for the long centuries of the faith. However, several points help us to think about these complex issues that we can have a look at. And I'd say first and foremost, it's essential to recognise that prayer is not merely about asking for some specific outcome, but it's fundamentally about entering into a relationship with God. A mature faith has to trust in the Lord's providence and in his greater plan for our lives, even when our petitions seem to go unheard. And perhaps that's why that prayer of St. John Henry Newman just seems so appropriate when you feel like your efforts are futile. The example of Jesus in Gethsemane illustrates this point. Despite his earnest prayer for the cup to pass from him, he ultimately submitted to the Father's will, which led to the salvation of humanity. The Christian understanding of suffering also plays a crucial role in this discussion. Suffering is a mystery that can lead to spiritual growth and deeper communion with Christ. Prayer does not exempt individuals from trials and sufferings, but it allows them to endure these experiences in union with Christ, who himself suffered. This perspective suggests that while healing may not occur in the way one hopes, the experience of suffering can lead to a profound transformation and a deeper understanding of God's love and presence in our lives. Moreover, the sincerity of prayer does not guarantee a specific outcome. As St. Augustine pointed out, humans often do not know what to pray, as they do not know how to pray as they ought to, and sometimes what is requested may not align with God's ultimate plan for good. The act of praying itself can be a means of growing in faith and trust, even when the desired outcome isn't realized. The persistent prayer of the Canaanite woman who continued to seek Jesus' help despite the initial rejection exemplifies the courage and tenacity in prayer that God values. Finally, we need to consider the mystery of divine providence. The Church teaches that God's ways are not always comprehensible to human understanding. In the Book of Wisdom, we see a reflection on the perplexity of human suffering and the need for divine wisdom to navigate these challenges. While it's natural to seek immediate relief from suffering, the broader context of God's plan may involve a deeper purpose that transcends human understanding in the face of profound loss and the mystery of unanswered prayers. We are reminded of the depth and complexity of our journey through life, which can only be stronger lived through the lens of our Catholic faith. The heartfelt sharing of this new member serves as a poignant testimony to the enduring struggles many of us experience when prayers seem to go unanswered. It's in these moments of vulnerability that we can find incredible strength in our Christian community, which offers a safe haven for sharing grief and a place where we can find empathy and mutual support. Sometimes just the regularity of a communal prayer can be the thing that keeps you going. As we navigate these challenging questions together, let us never forget that even in our suffering, God's incredible love remains unwavering. Through our collective faith and compassion, we can become instruments of his peace, providing comfort to one another and finding purpose amongst our trials. When we do, we honour the memory of those we've lost and reaffirm our trust in God's greater plan for our lives, even when it lies beyond our understanding. I remember when Ruth died, my parish priest, my brilliant Father Kevin, said to us that God would find a way to turn this to his greater glory. He would find a way to turn that tragedy into something positive in our lives. Let me be thy blind instrument, Lord. I ask not to see, I ask not to know, I ask simply to be used. God bless you all.